It can be one of the most challenging times for parents, the teenage years. Your once sweet little baby is now a surly adolescent who knows how to push your buttons. Here with strategies to help us avoid getting angry or upset, please welcome to AM Northwest the author of Getting to Calm, Dr. Laura Kastner.
Nice to have you. It is, Janice and I both have teenagers, and a lot of our audience, they're parents of teenagers. It is that I believe it's the time when parents really fall in love with alcohol.
That's one way to get it. Not the one we recommend.
Yeah, not the one you recommend. But it is natural, I guess, for people that parents and teenagers, they're going to have bumpy roads and strife. There's a real struggle going on that's natural.
Yeah, well, we call it the second autonomy. The first one being the terrific twos, terrible twos, where it's no, 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 and I know I'm a separate self by creating that distance. And the second one is 10 to 20, 10 to 25, and that's
a decade we have that.
Yes, it's a long time, and that's where they're asserting their independence and establishing their individuality and their separate self, their unique identity. And so a lot of that is a new edition of no, no, no. It's just a little bit more difficult for the parents because it's more personalized.
Well, is it genetic for teens to be rude and sarcastic and to make fun of mom when she's singing along to the radio and her daughter's friends happen to be in the car?
That's a classic. Well, we could call it biologically driven because between puberty issues and hormones and then the brain changes that we've just now discovered in science, it really is hardwired that they have this push and surge for independence. I mean, that's how the species survives, right? Separating from the family and starting their own. And the beginning is this moodiness and separation that happens around 11, 12, 13. So it is hardwired.
And one of the things you talk about, the message I'm getting is, if parents can understand why their children are behaving the way they are, for what it really is, and understand that a lot of it is beyond the child's control. It's natural, hormonal, psychological.
Right. That's right.
They can deal with it in a more intelligent way.
Absolutely, that's the point. I mean, my co-author and I, Jenny White, and I wanted to write this book because with the discoveries in the last decade through neuroimaging science, we know that there's a whole change of the architecture of the prefrontal cortex, the thinking brain, such that there is more governance by the emotional brain than the thinking brain. This is hardwired. It's not their fault. Now, that's an explanation, not an excuse. We still need to socialize them and discipline them and deal with all the challenges that they throw in our face, like yelling at mom if she's singing at the radio. But if we understand it, if we can understand it like a tantruming 2-year-old, we may come to it with, again, a cooler head and more empathy, and then it gives us, then we can get to our thinking brains and choose the strategies that work.
What I think is interesting reading this today, because a light went off, that kids will often have conflict with their parents just because they'll create a negative conflict so that they can justify a separation to their parents. Explain that.
Well, when you think about it, there are lots of reasons to be rude. One is you're in a bad mood, dump it on the person I feel closest to. One, you're irritating anyway because you're socializing me and nagging me and making me do my chores and my homework and so forth, so that's annoying. Thirdly, you're going to dump it on somebody, and it creates this friction so that when you lose it some of the time, it makes it even easier to sort of do that separation. I always like to look at the parent as a big oak tree, and we're sort of shadowing the little fledgling sapling underneath it. And the more they chop us down, the more they get the sun, and they get bigger, we get smaller, because we're reduced to, our lesser selves, shall we say?
Yeah.
And then we're easier to find imperfect and separate from, and then they can feel a little bit more empowered, if you will. Because don't they reduce us to our
back to toddlers, right?
And that's what we're trying to say with the book, is that if the parent can get to calm by understanding, then they're less likely to operate from their triggers, from their emotional brain, yell, scream, belittle, humiliate, and they can take some big breaths, move to the thinking brain where we can think about cost, benefit, risk of various approach we might take. And it's better not to yell. It's better to be credible and calm.
So would it be better, let's say you're in a situation where you feel yourself getting heated up, would it be better to give yourself a timeout and go to your room rather than send the teenager to the room?
Well, you can't control the teen. You say go to your room and they'll say no.
Yeah.
But if you say, you know, I'm not productive right now. But it's very important how you exit, because if you said, I'm sick of you, you're impossible, that can activate and escalate the battle, right? And they'll chase you to the room. But another approach is to say, you know, I'm not operating for my best self right now. I can't make this productive. I know you want to know if you can go to the rock concert tonight, and you deserve an answer, but right now this is unproductive. So I'm going to take a time out, and I'll get back with you in 5 minutes, and you can bring your best self to that too.
You talk about too that how kids understand, well, that parents, mothers and fathers, homes that will have both parents, they need to stand together. They need to really work in tandem. Even if they don't completely agree with one another, at least on a front with the children, they've got to be good.
And even if they're separated.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's good too. Yeah, that's why we call it co-parenting, even if you're divorced. That's a really important point. In fact, one whole chapter in our book, Getting to Calm, is when your spouse and you disagree, because it's so common. Anytime you have a lot of emotion on board, you're more likely to polarize because of all the intense feelings. So anytime you can feel your blood pressure going up, your heartbeat going up, you probably need to take some deep breaths and maybe even go to another place to have that disagreement, because it's so important to have the united front. When that child can see that space between you, they'll drive a Mack truck through it.
Yes.
Have you noticed?
Yes, I have.
Polarized.
It is the wisdom of the book to me is as simple as people understanding the sun is not going to go away. Stop throwing sticks at it. It's there, and that's what parents understand. Well, folks, you have a book signing. It's going to be tonight, Barnes & Noble, Washington Square, 7 o'clock. Get in to call as the book, and if you have kids or you even think one day you might accidentally have kids, you better get the book.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.